Hello everybody and welcome back to Jake's RC Stuff, and today we're actually on the workbench where the work happens. Very exciting because today I'm going to be giving you a update on the Bixler, and as you can see this is a Hobby King Bixler 1 in slightly bad state with a Bixler 2 tailplane and tail fin on there. So for those who don't know, this basically got stuck in a tree. It took multiple days and a lot of wind and rain to get it out. And in getting it out of the tree, which was done by the wind in the end, the tailplane and rudder blew away because they got ripped off the back of it. Now, while you can still buy the Bixler kits, you can't buy spares. Whereas, while you can buy Bixler 2 spares, I'm pretty sure you can't actually buy Bixler 2s anymore, unless they're like the ready-to-fly versions, which nobody ever wants. So, I bought a set. In fact, I actually bought 2 sets, because the way that Hobby King's baskets work is a bit strange. So, I have a second set of spares. Whether we'll get to needing that second set of spares with this airframe, I'm not sure, because it's a bit battered. So, basically, to go over the installation of this, the tailplane itself, incredibly easy. I suppose this is a good thing about me having spares. I basically just had to chop that block down there in half. Just lower it, glued straight in. And that was glued in with green Zap. Have I got some to hand? I certainly do. Green Zap. And regular sort of Zap kicker. In fact, what I'm going to do for this video... Oh, actually on automatic, that's excellent. Okay, so that's what they were glued in with. Now the rudder itself was a little bit more work, or the tail fin should I say. So if you have a look, you can see I cut it as soon as it went relatively flat, so about there it was cut off. So that includes removing this tab and this sort of front bit. Now if I had a proper camcorder instead of DSLR, the autofocus would work better. It's something I'm looking into. And as you can see, I did have to sort of cut, you can see with the blue line, a bigger thing in the middle. It's not quite in the middle, and if you look at it from sort of that angle, you know, if you look straight down it, the rudder isn't quite straight, but at the same time, this isn't a brand new plane. So what about other things? Well, if we go front to back, this lollipop stick, which is literally an old lollipop stick. Look, it's from a fab. First of all, it got glued in at a weird wonky angle, if you can sort of see. It got knocked, but that was glued in with actually goop plumbing. So that's basically because when the video transmitter gets mounted on the back, that's what the antenna gets attached to. Here of course we have the upgraded motor I purchased for it. While I was doing these upgrades, while it was being taken apart to let all the water dry out of it, I decided that it's going to fall over and that I'm going to upgrade the motor. So I think it was an 1850 on the old one. I don't think I can see it to hand to double check, but I think the original one is 1850 or 1950. This is a 2200. It's going to run a 6x4 multi-rotor prop, like a gem fan type thing. I'm not sure which direction it's running, but it doesn't particularly matter because I'm using multi-rotor props. I can just stick a clockwise or a counterclockwise on, and as long as it goes then we're happy. When it came to mounting this, it's a 16x9 bolt pattern, so it's the same bolt pattern as the old motor, but the trouble is mostly the fact that it's out of focus, so it's not going to automatically do it. Boom! So, the 16x9 bolt pattern is actually rotated 90 degrees on this motor compared to the other one, so instead of the wire coming out the top, it's coming out the side. Excellent. So that means I'm just going to have to put a little nick in there just to let the wires round. When I built the plane, I made my own extensions between the speed controller and the motor, and they were just 3.5mm bullets on either end, so I could literally just unplug them off the old motor, put them on this, thread it back down, and connect it up through this hatch. I'm just going to go back to now I've sort of seen inside this hatch. I did buy this as a plug and fly, so it came with the motor and the servos. That's the only servo, which is for the rudder, I believe. Yep, that is still working. That one's a crappy Turnigy one, and I've got Savox in the ailerons. They have all survived. They never just broke on their own. They always broke getting this plane out of trees. So the fact that this one is still going is excellent. Now when we go back to, I'm going to go back up here for a second. So this one connected more or less all right. Slight change to the clevis compared to what it used to be, and a little bit of sub trim. And this one was actually a bit of a disaster. You can see it scrolled all the way in, or screwed all the way in, and a bit of sub trim to get that to be straight. What the hell was that? It sounded like something turned off. Anyway, now actually this one was broken because it was hung on essentially by the elevator clevis. This is what was keeping it in the sky, so, or in the tree, should I say, not in the sky. So what I ended up doing was I ended up borrowing one from the Radjet that I bought at swap meet, and that was a mistake. So I've used one of those. That fits fine. I couldn't find, we have a box of clevises and things, plastic clevises. We couldn't find any that was actually like self-tapping like the end of this metal thing is. So as we come along, the rest of the equipment is completely what was in the waterlogged plane, even the beck. Cheapo beck, should probably replace that, but never mind, it's not going miles. The 4-channel receiver, easy UHF, aerial coming out the top, a plush 30 amp speed controller in there as well, even down to the same wire leads. As I say, the only thing that's going to be different in this plane so far from what I've seen is the motor, and that was only for, as I've said, power reasons. Now, I've had the tail servos working, I've had the motor working, which of course includes which means that also the receiver, the beck and the speed controller are working. So everything in this plane is fine, other than the FPV equipment. We shall now move on to the wings. Rip, it's alright. A wing 1, a wing 2. So these wings, both wings had the tips removed in the incident, and I've still got to put that back on. So these were put on with goop plumbing, and I do like it. This is the first time I've used goop plumbing sort of properly, and I really do like it. It's sort of, with super glue, you get such a brittle area that when it breaks next time, it just breaks just to the right of it, and then you're sticking super glue to super glue, and it all backfires. With this, while the wing doesn't seem quite as strong, because it can flex that little bit, I feel like in an accident it won't break again. Whereas this one, which as you can see has had many repairs, so much glue slobbered in it, also done with plumbing glue this time, you know, clearly not good. So what's left to do on this wing? Well, apparently I've got to find the extension lead, which was on there, so I can put that back in the wing. That dent I'm going to try and get out with some hot water and glue back up. I'm going to run some clear Gorilla Tape across the wing just to strengthen it slightly. This wing aileron hinge was done with, is it available over there? It's like, oh, what's it called? I can't, this is annoying. Foam tack, that's the stuff. That is the kiddie, foam tack there. So what's good with this is you sort of take the top off, you run it down the joint, you then use this sort of little spike thing here to run down here, and it creates just like a thin film of this glue. It's supposedly glue, but we only use it for this one thing, and it just vastly strengthens up the joints, and it can be used to restick joints that have broken. So that's what I'm going to use on this one. As you can see, it's had some on that end. Really good stuff this for doing hinges with. I do sometimes use Blenderm. I used to always use Blenderm, but since I got this, I use this more than Blenderm. So I actually haven't tried these servos, but they are Savox, so I presume they'll work because they just seem to be freaking bulletproof, these things. Actually, my dad had one stripped the other day in his Miss Wind. Sebart Miss Wind. But anyway, yeah, I've got a spare control rod. As for this bit, I'm just going to put some tape over both sides. It's not new, as you can possibly tell, so I'm not too overly fussed about it. But what I am fussed about is the fact the camera's about to run out of its 10 minutes recording between starting the recording again. So I'll be right back. And now it's right back, so words. So as I was saying, I might get the foam forward. Got a new carbon rod sat in a drawer over there. Now this is what I'm kind of concerned about. There's meant to be like a square piece of foam here. I don't think I've still got it. So what I might have to do is I'm just going to see how it fits before. If it fits fine, doesn't slop about too much, I'll leave it. Or if not, I mean, I could 3D print something to, like if I cut that foam off, or if I've got a block of foam I can use. But yeah, it's definitely not going to be the prettiest airframe, but I knew that when I was going to repair it. So I'm just making the plane that's had a very hard life live just that little bit longer. So yeah, from what I have seen, all of the water damaged equipment is working. I haven't tested all of it yet, none of the FPV gear and none of those 2 aileron servos, but I believe that they will be fine. They've definitely had like a month or 2 to like sit there and dry out. So other than that, the Bixler will get ready for flight soon. Whether there'll be a video, I might just like mention it, that like, go hey, the Bixler flew again, even after being through about 4 or 5 different trees now. But yeah, that's it. Just a little update to say the Bixler is going back together, and that you can indeed install the Bixler 2 tailplane and fins and things on a Bixler 1 with just a little bit of cutting of foam. So if you have one that's like you're not flying because you lost, say, half the tailplane, then this is good. One last thing I would mention is I didn't do it on mine, but I would put a flat piece of carbon across the back because it is incredibly wappy. But yes, other than that, that is it. So if you enjoyed, please click the like button, helps you a lot. Remember to subscribe if you're new, and comment, leave questions and things and stuff, and I'll get back to them, whether it be directly in the comment section or in a like monthly look back video type thing that I'm not sure if I'm actually going to do or not. But anyway, thanks for watching. See you all in the next one. Bye bye.